Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Manchester United prepare to let Rafael Varane go to a big rival. Why are they thinking about doing that? We'll be discussing that. Also, United linked with Leeds teenage sensation Archie Gray. Bayern Munich and Real Madrid are both looking at him. Is this a player that Man United are going to look at? More importantly, is it an indicator of what Manchester United are about to become in the transfer window, which is something we've never been before and something that is actually quite exciting. So we'll talk about that as well. Also, Fabrizio Romano has given an update on Graham Potter to Manchester United. We'll talk about that and a few other bits as well. Lots to get into on the show tonight. But before we do, don't forget, we're sponsored by Boohooman. You can get all your fantastic gym wear, five-a-side wear, out wear, in wear, relax wear with Boohooman. You've got a 10% discount with Goldbridge. They've got a side-wide 40% off at the moment. So if you add Goldbridge to the 40%, you get 44% off altogether with that extra 10% discount. So check it out, scan the QR code or go through the link in the description. Get yourself some fantastically priced clothing delivered to your door, and don't forget to use the code Goldbridge for that extra discount. But also, we've got something extra for you as well. See what I did there? Boohooman always like to give you a bit of Man United trivia. Now, I don't know the answer to this. I've not looked at it. I've asked. I normally get the name. I said, I don't want to know the name. I want to be part of this. So, which Man United player was this? I was born in January the 11th, 1957. Bloody hell, that's going to make them pretty old. I started my career at I'm not saying if you're born in 1957, but I mean, it's not going to be Wes Brown, is it? I started my career at West Brom, but in 1981, I moved to United for a UK record fee at the time of 1.5 million. I think I know who it is. During my time at United, I played 345 games and scored 74 goals. For United, I won the Premier League and the FA Cup twice, and the League Cup and European Cup Winners' Cup once. I left United in 94 after 13 years and joined Middlesbrough. I do know who it is. I ultimately played only 25 games for Middlesbrough, but I did start my managerial career there, helping them get promoted to the Premier League. I also played 90 times for England during my career, and it would have been a hell of a lot more if he hadn't have had so many injuries. A fantastic player. Many say he's the best player they've seen play for Man United. I wasn't fortunate enough to really catch him in his prime. I was too young. But of course, it was Brian Robson. What a player he was. I mean, I have to take advice from people like Ricky and that on this one, but a fantastic player. And if you got that, well done. Don't forget, Boohooman, get yourself an extra 10% off the 40% that you can already get off on their website now. Scan the QR code, links in the description, or go on there later. Use that code GOLDBRIDGE. Okay. Well done if you got that. Let's get into the show. We're going to start off about Varane. I really want to get into the transfer stuff, but we're going to start off with Varane. So a few floaters. No one likes a floater. Bad bowels, but shouldn't float. But the point I'm trying to make is there's a few stories floating around Rafael Varane, which are quite concerning. Now let me paint a picture for you. I've always said I think Varane is going to be De Gea. I think he's going to be a player we probably shouldn't let go, but we'll let them go for free, because we want to save the wage. And there is a value for Varane. He's 31. There is a value. Look at Thiago Silva still playing in the Premier League in his mid-30s. There is a value for Varane, and we are occasionally, as a fan base, we've got to take responsibility. When a player's 30, we automatically think they're finished, and they're not. They're not. And I think Varane's been our best centre-back this season. So we are prepared to let Varane go for nothing to save 300 grand a week. But we did this with De Gea last year. It was a mistake in a playing sense, but it was a mistake in a value sense as well. These players have a value. And, it just seems ridiculously Glazer-nomics, really. You get them out the door to save the 300 grand a week, but they have a transfer value that you get nothing for. And it's ridiculously naive, it's ridiculously stupid, and it's emphasised by the point that Chelsea and Bayern Munich are seriously looking at taking Varane on a free in the summer. So we're going to let a 31-year-old leave the club for nothing so we can save 300 grand a week, and he could sign for anybody. And he could sign for Chelsea, he could sign for Bayern Munich, he could sign for Spurs, he could go to Saudi Arabia. But the talk from Varane's camp has always been he doesn't feel that Saudi Arabia is now. He still feels that he's got 1 or 2 years left in him at the highest level in Europe. So it's a weird one. I think Casemiro will go Saudi Arabia. I think that's, he's under contract, etc. But Varane is a really interesting one. United aren't looking to renew that contract unless they're keeping it super secret. I was speaking to somebody about 3 weeks ago about this, and they said In fact, we've got Fabrizio on the show on Monday, so I'm going to ask him again about this, because basically the Varane story, there is nothing coming out at all. Basically, Varane's camp are very quiet. Man United are very quiet about it, which suggests they're happy for his contract to run down. All parties. I mean, this is great for Varane. Varane's not a victim here. I mean, we always look at it from the club side. So United spent, 40 million on Varane 3 years ago when he was 28? 3 years later, we're going to let him walk out the door for nothing, having spent 40 million pounds on him, and God knows how many millions in wages. It's a bad business decision. It's a bad decision. He has a value. I don't know why we didn't renew his contract, but that's because we don't want to pay him the wages. So I think it's a weird one. I agree with Matthew Gartell. I think he is gone. I think we will be moving him on. I don't necessarily agree with it, but INEOS have got to make some big decisions. But do not be surprised if he signs for Chelsea or Bayern Munich or another big European club. Because if you're Varane, win-win. You know, you leave Man United, you've had your 300 grand a week, you're a free agent, no one's going to pay a transfer fee for you. You say, look at me this year, I haven't been injury prone, I've played for Man United, who've had a centre-back injury crisis, and I've played a lot. I can still play a lot. You don't have to pay a transfer fee for me. I still put myself as, in the top 20 centre-backs in Europe. That's what you're getting for nothing. Give me 200 grand a week. And I think it will happen. Unless he decides to go to Saudi Arabia, in which case we still don't get any money because he's out of contract. So we're not getting anything for Varane. We're just removing 300 grand a week. But there's a very big chance that he can go and sign for anybody. I mean, I don't know what you think about that. What do I think about it? It doesn't sit right to me if he goes to Chelsea or Bayern Munich and he's playing first team football for Chelsea or Bayern Munich. It doesn't sit right to me to let a player go for nothing of his quality. It doesn't sit right with me. But then on the other hand, I think, well, we're trying to build a project which Varane and Maguire and Lindelof and Evans can't be part of. So, but then I think experience is such a big thing in the dressing room. He's obviously going to take a pay cut. Why not give him a year? Why not give him a year or 2 years on 200 grand a week? I don't know. It just seems a really weird one for me because there's definitely interest from other clubs. But what I will say is, if we keep Maguire and we let Varane go, what are we learning? And I like Maguire. He's been good this year, but Varane's been good this year, and Varane's a better centre-back. So, you either let both go or you keep Varane, in my opinion. If you let both go, I put my hands up and say, look, we're trying to move in a different direction. If you let Varane go and you keep Maguire, I'm like, I don't get that. I don't get that. So we'll have to wait out, see how it works. Hi, Mark. Love the show. Eric Ten Hag in. On potential replacements, why do we always mention the same names but not managers like Inzaghi and Mikel at Girona, says Ryan? Because I think you make a great point, because I think the British media are lazy. And I think rather than actually go and do... Look, I'll tell you a quick story, right? The British media know next to nothing about European football. They're Premier League centric, they're British bias, they know next to nothing about Inzaghi or Mikel at Girona or any other manager really. They don't really know anything. So when they talk about Man United needing a new manager, they'll just go, Ashworth used to be at Brighton, Potter used to be at Brighton, De Zerbi's at Brighton. Right, they're the top two choices. Ashworth used to be at England. He gets on really well with Southgate. And that's what it'll all be about. Ryan, if Man United are looking for managers, and who knows, they will surely, as they did with Barada, as they've done with Blanc, as they've done with Ashworth, they will surely be looking for best in-house. As I said this morning, I think a lot of these stories are bullshit. I think the Southgate one's got something in it just because of the people who've been talking about it over the last 2 months. I don't think De Zerbi's got anything to do with Man United. I don't think Potter's got anything to do with Manchester United. In fact, Fabrizio Romano has said today there's not been any talks between Potter and Manchester United. Although he did say that about Southgate. And remember, there won't be any official talks anyway. So I think that with the managerial situation, it is a little bit like stick the tail on the donkey blindfolded, and that's what we tend to get. Sean from Ireland says he's the best centre back we have, and he can play the high press in relation to Varane. Yeah, look, on the centre back, I want to talk about this Archie Gray story and how United and INEOS are going to change their transfer policy quite radically. But I think in relation to the centre-backs, it's a conversation that needs to be had. Times End's just gifted 1 membership, by the way. Absolute legend there. If you got it, well done. Thank you very much, Times End. But I think with regards to the centre-back situation, even if Martinez comes back fully fit, that's 1 centre-back. Even if you sign Todibo, that's 2 centre-backs. Are we gonna buy another centre-back? That's 3 centre-backs. You've only got 3. Martinez and 2 brand new centre-backs. Cambuala, is he going to go on loan? Is he going to be good enough? We don't really know. And then you've got Johnny Evans, Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof and Varane. Well, if you're going to get rid of any of those players, Varane should be the last one to go. I mean, Maguire's steady, but he's an Everton, West Ham defender in the modern game. He's not a top 4 defender. He can't play that way. Neither can Lindelof. Neither can Johnny Evans. Victor Lindelof, Johnny Evans and Maguire, in their own way, have had pretty decent seasons, but that's because we've spent most of it playing on the edge of our box. That's what they are. They're edge-of-the-box centre-backs. They're James Tarkowski. And we don't want to play like that. So it would be weird to me to let Varane go and then keep Lindelof and Maguire or whatever. But look, I'm not the manager. We'll have to just wait and see. Archie Gray is my Sunderland career mode legend, says Imp. And if we keep Maguire this summer, he's out of contract in 2025. So we'll lose him for free too, unless we renew his contract, which would seem odd to do, says Paul. I think you're right, Paul. I think if we kept Maguire, we'd have to give him a new contract. Rich says, it's been an absolute pleasure to watch Varane week in, week out. He's our Rolls Royce of defenders, says Rich. I mean, it was only a few weeks ago, and it might still be the case that Varane's won more aerial duels than any other centre-back in the league. More than Saliba, more than Van Dijk. He hasn't had a bad season when he's been fit. We've had a bad season, but it's not been on Varane. Bradley has been a member for 7 months. Thank you very much for that. Anyway, let's move the story on. I want to talk to you about Archie Gray. Leeds sensation Will, who I do the podcast with, was at the EFL Awards on Sunday and presented Archie with the Player of the Year award for the EFL. In fact, it might have been the Young Player of the Year award. I don't know whether he got player. Anyway, he got one of these awards. Fantastic talent at Leeds. Genuine interest around Europe from Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. These clubs buy these sorts of players. You know, a few years ago, we'd have been going, oh my God, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid are looking at a championship with English winger. But that's what they do. That's their policy now. I put a tweet out earlier on, actually, which I will I will go back to. But look, there's been a few people talking about Archie Gray and Manchester United today, and there's been a few people talking about Dewsbury Hall and Manchester United today. In relation to Archie Gray, I have got no information that we haven't scouted him, because I'd be very surprised if we haven't. But I think what we're getting a lot of at the moment, and it's funny, I'm in a group chat on Twitter, and I was saying this, loads of good accounts in it, and I was saying it's getting a little bit... Wait a minute. Bloody dog running around live through a show. It's like the bloody old day. It's like the olden days. I got this little office set up, so I didn't have little bloody dogs and cats running around. But with Archie Gray, I think, look, we live in a world of social media. There's so many fantastic people out there trying to grow themselves and, you know, be the one who breaks a story. And that's just the mainstream. You've also got, you know, aggregators, United States, you know the world we live in. Unfortunately, I did say this a few months ago. I think this summer transfer window is going to be a hard slog. And thank God we've got this community where we can talk about it, because it's going to be a hard slog. Remember about 6-7 years ago, you used to get the ITKs? Can anyone remember a really prominent Man United ITK? I can't, you know what? I actually can't remember any. That's how forgettable they were. But people believed them. People that, you know, remember the Van Dijk, not the Van Dijk. Remember the De Ligt one? It was about May the 15th, and they said De Ligt is definitely signing for Man United, 100%. They didn't have a face on their Twitter. They didn't work for anybody. It was just an ITK, in the know account, and people used to genuinely believe them. They've gone now, but what we have had replaced is people who are they have a face, they work for a website, or they've got a visual on Twitter, and they're throwing a dartboard. They're throwing a dart at the world's biggest dartboard and saying that United are looking at this player. And as I've said to you before, we scout hundreds of players every season. So when somebody says we're looking at Dewsbury Hall, we will have scouted him. When somebody says we're interested in Archie Gray, we will have scouted him. So you can't miss. You literally can't miss, because we will have scouted these players. And then people get excited and think we're going to sign this player. We're not going to sign Archie Gray. Is my point. We're not going to sign him because he is just a player on a long, long list that we have scouted. And also, I might be a bit old school for this. Some people might understand it. His family have played for Leeds. Like he's got a family tradition of Leeds. And Leeds hate United. We don't really care about them that much, but it is a big thing. It's like when we got linked to Calvin Phillips a couple of years ago. He was never going to come to Manchester United. It's not impossible, but it is a barrier that you've got to jump over. And I just don't think people understand how big a deal it is when a player goes from Leeds to Manchester United. So he's a very talented player. And there is some real interest from some very big clubs. And there's no doubt that Man United have scouted him. And there's no doubt that Man United would be interested in him. And look, maybe in some amazing transfer deal, Man United might sign him. But I think it's mission impossible for United to do a deal like that with Leeds for a player like that. But the interesting thing is, the positive is that, look, we've got to be very careful about, we'll talk about Dewsbury Hall in a minute. We've got to be really, really careful, because people just get very excited when the transfer window gets close. And people out there, I could tweet right now. I could tweet it right now. Man United are really interested in Edison at Atalanta as they look to bring in a midfielder this summer. Those words would get a lot of interest, wouldn't it? You know it would. And I would sit there knowing the chances of us signing him, I don't know, 50-50, 10%. I don't know. Genuinely don't know whether we'll sign him. But I do know we've been scouting him, so I'll always have that to fall back on. And you can basically say it's about so many players. Man United are interested in signing Ivan Toney this summer. Leave it at that. Very vague. We will have scouted him. We will have had a look at him. Whether we'll sign him or not, I doubt it. But, you know, we've got to be very, very careful about that sort of stuff, certainly. However, what I think we can talk about is we're about to see something, I believe, over the maybe not massively this summer, hopefully this summer, but certainly over the next few years. There's going to be a change in policy at Manchester United around transfers. And we are going to see young South American players coming in. We've been talking about this for probably since the day Ten Hag came in. We've been talking about United will ramp up their South American transfer market and North American as well, because Ajax were always very, very good at it. And Man United have always been very, very bad at it. So we would definitely see that coming to fruition over the next couple of years. We will start to see Man United signing South American players, North American players, which I think we'd all be very excited about. That will happen. But I also think we're going to start to buy players who are first team ready, who are aged between 17 and 22. I genuinely think we will see Man United doing that. And whilst I don't think it will be Archie Gray, there may well be other young players in the Championship or other leagues that we start bringing in, that come in, that are ready to play. And I think this is something that Man United are going to do. And I think it's going to be quite new for us, because we've never done this. And we do need to do it. We're not going to be the first people to do it, by the way. I mean, this is effectively the Real Madrid model. If you look at Real Madrid, when the traditional stereotype of Real Madrid is Galacticos, they just go and buy the Zidanes or the Benzema's. You know, although when they bought Benzema, you could argue it wasn't the finished article. But they, you know, if you go back to Beckham and Ronaldo and Figo and R9, they have had that reputation. But if you look at what their policy is now, Vinicius Jr. 2018, Rodrigo 2019, Camavinga 2021, Tchouaméni 2022, Jude Bellingham 23, Endrick 2024. Real Madrid have changed their Galactico game, and they buy young players that are ready to be thrown in when they're ready to throw them in. So if you look at Odegaard, there was a brilliant article that I got told about in Norway, I think it was today. Odegaard, they bought at 16, thinking he'll be ready by the time he's 18, 19. What they do now is they look to bring in 18, 19-year-olds that are pretty much ready to go. And if they're not ready to go, they'll leave them at the club they're buying from for a year or so, which is what is sort of happening with Endrick, and we've seen it happen with other players as well. I think United are going to go down this road because it fits in with who we are. And Real Madrid's policy basically is, well, they've not really missed either. I mean, you go back through, Tchouaméni still plays for them. Camavinga, brilliant. Rodrigo, brilliant. Vinicius Jr., brilliant. Jude Bellingham, brilliant. Endrick, brilliant. And it's actually quite interesting how they've staggered it each year as well. One year, comes in, settles in. Second year, it works really, really well. And I think that, all right, they're going to bring Kylian Mbappe in, but he's the best player in the world. He's still only 25. There is a change in policy with Real Madrid that I think Man United are going to replicate, actually. I think we are going to see United trying to build a younger profile team in a more steady way. Because look at Chelsea, £1 billion in 12 months. It's just not worked. They've brought some good young players, but it's just been overwhelming. Real Madrid have still retained people like Toni Kroos and Modric. Rudiger's come in on a free transfer. The balance is really good, which takes me back to Varane. I sort of feel that with Varane, would you not keep him around for a year or two? Because Casemiro's probably going to go. Eriksen's probably going to go. Would Varane not be a good senior professional footballer who's seen it all to keep at the club for some of these younger players that we're going to bring in? It'll be difficult for United. I mean, the younger players that Real Madrid have brought in have still been very expensive. You're not getting bargains. You are spending a lot of money on the next big thing. But I do think we're going to see a change in policy of Manchester United. I no longer think we're going to buy 25, 26, 27-year-olds for 60, 70, 80 million. I think we're going to go with a younger profile. And I think it's the right way to go. And I'd be very, very surprised if INEOS don't follow through with it. Sakin says, "Hi Mark, Angry Ramp Man and I were classmates and he introduced me to football. Truly devastated by the news of his passing," says Sakin. Yeah, we spoke about it this morning. Very, very sad news. I was hoping it wasn't going to be true, but obviously after we've been live this morning, it has been true. Confirmed as true. Just very sad. And as I said, whether you're into this sort of thing or not, he had a very, distinct creative voice, and he was very talented, and he was very passionate. And one blink and you're not here anymore. I really just keep saying this to you so many times over the years. Grab the opportunities, try to be nice, because we're not here for a good time. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. And very, very sad. It reminds me of Kipster all those years ago. Fantastic young lad, and again, it was a heart condition, wasn't it? It's just so sad. Varane is afraid of heading. Reports say soft, says Ben. Yeah, he's won the most aerial duels in the Premier League. Gifted 1 membership. Sakin, thank you very much. Svetson, thank you very much for your super chat. De Gea, United fan first, says, anti-TUS petition, bunch of hypocrites. It's hilarious, mate. Please go sign it. Won't make a blind bit of difference. Don't even understand what it's about. They don't even watch the channel. There is no passion, there is no vision, says Cyber. Varane, just another player that doesn't care about the club and wants to get more wages. Weird comment from Radiohead there. You do good music, you don't know football. Anyway, look. So yeah, keep it. I mean, we won't get Archie Gray. But I do think we're going to start seeing United try to bring in younger talent. And I'd be all for it. We've already got the likes of Rasmus and Garnacho and Mainu and Camboala, and there are others to come through. But I think recruiting those types of players as well, it would be a good thing. You know what we really need at Man United? I know it was on Boohoo Man, Brian Robson, but that is what we need at Man United. We do need the next, and they're so hard to find because, I remember speaking to Paul Ince about this. The Paul Inces, the Roy Keanes, the Steven Gerrards, they're sort of made from their upbringings in the sense that the world was very different then. You weren't signed up for Liverpool when you were 5 years of age and just in a bubble. You probably did still come from, quite working class backgrounds with working class ethics. These character footballers, these aggressive footballers, these leader footballers, they tend to come from South America now more and more because that's still quite poor regions, isn't it? I think the modern British footballer, technically we've got some real ballers, but we don't really have the grit and determination midfielders anymore. If we can find one, it would be great, because I still think that's the sort of missing piece for United. I think Bruno gives his all, but he's not a proper captain. He's the best we've got, but he's not a proper captain. And I think it's not that loads of other clubs have got them, but I think it would be great. United are the type to try winning formula and fail with it, so it'll be interesting to see, says Spin. Jokers, thank you very much for being a member for 22 months. What about the story about Dewsbury Hall? Yeah, again, I sort of file this under the Archie Gray story, in the sense that we will have scouted him, we won't sign him. And I just think it's people, again, trying to, put something out that's partially true to get a bit of interaction on X or Twitter, that they know there's not going to be any comeback on, because we will have scouted him. I'm not scared of Dewsbury Hall coming to Man United. He's a decent player, but we won't sign him, because if we do sign him, I'd really question what we're trying to do. I've seen quite a lot of Dewsbury Hall. He's an interesting player. He's a lot older than I thought he was. I forget how old he is. I think he might be 24, might be 25 actually. He might even be older than that. I've completely forgotten. But he is a player that has had a good season in the Championship. But the interesting thing about him is, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, yes, we need a replacement for Eriksen, but not like that. Eriksen was an attacking midfielder that we converted into a number 8. Just buy a number 8. And by number 8, I mean somebody who is as good defensively as they are going forward. Eriksen's a butcher's apron. Going forward, very good. Exposed at the back. I think Dewsbury Hall would be the same. Very good going forward, defensively suspect. So why would we go and buy another number 8 who can't defend? And we've already got Mount, we've already got Bruno, we've already got Ahmad can play there. We've got a lot of people who can play as an attacking midfielder. What we don't have, beyond Casemiro and now Mainu, and even McTominay, let's not forget McTominay, he's still here. He's still an attacking midfielder. I think we've established that. He scored goals this year. However much you rate Scott McTominay, he's certainly an attacking midfielder. So I don't really understand. No, I do understand. We will have scouted Dewsbury Hall. He's British. He's homegrown. He's probably quite cheap, to be fair. But never say never with United, because we don't know. It's very difficult to say, no, it won't happen, because we don't know what INEOS are going to... We've never seen an INEOS transfer window yet. But I'd be very surprised if best-in-class recruiters like Ashworth, Barada and Wilcox and everyone else is going to be involved came into United and said, let's go and buy what is essentially another attacking midfielder. Now, I'm not saying he's a 10. I certainly think you could play him as an 8. But I will argue with anybody that he's just another Eriksen as an 8, in the sense that his best attributes are going forward. Defensively, I don't think he's that good. So how does that help Man United? Because Mount can do that role. If you want to play an attacking-minded midfielder at 8, just play Mason Mount there, or Bruno Fernandez there, or Scott McTominay there. You don't need to go and buy another midfielder that is good going forward. So no, I don't really see it. I don't really see that. And but as I've said, I'm not going to dismiss it and say that there hasn't been interest from United. Categorically, yes, we will have scouted him, but we will have probably scouted a lot of other players that aren't being mentioned who are midfielders. We've probably... I don't want to scare people. Mark, I decided to look at previous comments from the hate comments you get, and they comment something negativity literally every show. Don't get it. What? Danny, I decided to look at previous comments from the hate comments you get, and they comment something negative literally every show. Don't get it. They're obsessed, mate. They're absolutely obsessed. I see them in the live chat. They slip through on That's Football. They come through and you just ignore it. It's weird. Go and live your life. As many people said, and we're all very sad about Angry Rant Man, and I just think, why do people spend their time hating on things on Twitter or YouTube when there is so much stuff you can go and enjoy? And I feel sorry for you. Like, go and enjoy your life. We enjoy doing what we're doing. Why are you obsessed with it? Why are you? It's weird. Are you obsessed with a Man United journalist who writes for The Athletic? Are you obsessed with a Man United journalist who writes in The Telegraph, who probably doesn't support Man United, who's been paid to do it by a big conglomerate? No, you're not, are you? Can you guess who's running recruitment, Mark? Says Terence Robbins. I I don't know at the moment. I really don't know. United have done that one from Spinelli as well. Thank you very much. Would you sell Bruno, Mark, says Reese? No. No. And there's a multitude of reasons for that. I actually look, we don't shy away from any conversation, do we? I actually don't have a problem with people who would sell Bruno Fernandez as long as it's for the right reasons. The right reasons would be he's going to be 30 next. And of course, I think Bruno will probably play till he's 38. So what does his age matter? But it does matter in the sense that he has fell off this year. Now, is he falling off because of age? I don't know. But that's always a consideration. His performances this season haven't been good enough, have they? I also think that, but for me, I wouldn't get rid of him. I think he's the best captain we've got. I think we could do a lot better. Look, I'll be honest. When I think of Bruno at the moment, or I think of Rashford, or I think about Casemiro, I get very irritated inside. I can feel it bubbling up because, you know what? It's a weird one because I actually sort of enjoy it when United aren't playing, and I've never had that before. I get most angry when I watch Man United play at the moment. When we're not playing, I feel more optimistic. So Bruno's an irritant to me at the moment, as is many of the players. And that's not fair in the sense that, because I like them, I do like them, but they are so shit this year. They are. We are so shit as a team. I'm fed up of watching us get played off the park by Fulham or Bournemouth or Brentford. We are really shit. Like the fact that teams like those names are playing us off the park, sometimes at Old Trafford, we are shit. And you sort of look at these players and go, well, how culpable are you to that? You know, I think certain players like Mainu, Garnacho, Delo to a certain extent, Rasmus, you can sort of give them a free pass because you can see that they're really engaged and they've had some good games and they're young, etc., etc. But other players, I'm sort of like, well, can you get a free pass? I would give Bruno a free pass because I just think that there is a really good player there, but you know, there's so much else that needs to be done this summer as well. Eric Ten Hag greeting the under-18s was great, especially Amas, says Mario Franco. Yeah, they've been fantastic this year. I mean, I don't normally speak about the youth in the sense that I think people get too excited about it and go, oh, we've got 5 or 6 in that team that are going to be first-team players. It doesn't always work out like that. We've seen plenty of youth teams do very, very well, of course. But, you know, Ten Hag has had a big part in that, and he's definitely a promoter of that, and that's something that we want to see continue. Mike B says, do we win this weekend? Well, I think we'll start looking forward to that tomorrow. We've got the preview tomorrow. We have to win. I mean, I don't want to be a doom merchant, but if we were to lose against Coventry, I don't think there's any coming back, is there? I mean, we don't want to bill it as the sack game, but if he was to lose against Coventry, we have got a game midweek next week, actually, so there is a quick turnaround, but yeah, we've got to win. And all respect to Coventry, they're a good team, but we have to win. We have to win that. Van Gaal, Stuart says Varane ain't no shock exit. It is if he signs for Chelsea or Bayern Munich, mate. Maybe watch the show. Van Gaal told Ten Hag not to take the job. Looks like he was right. Van Gaal said it's a commercial club. Stay clear of it, says Ryan. But I've said this to you for many years. You know when people say nobody will want the Man United job, no one will want to play for Man United. I understand why you say it, but you're completely wrong. You need to understand footballers are egotistical, managers are even worse. Like Van Gaal telling Ten Hag not to take the job because he's seen it and it's not that good. Ten Hag would respect Van Gaal, but deep down he'll be thinking, I'm not going to listen to him. It's a great opportunity. I can be the guy that turns it around. There will always be good managers that want Man United job, and there will always be players that want to come to Man United. Even though there might be warnings, they'll go, well, it's going to be different because I'm good. So Ten Hag was never going to listen to Van Gaal. It's Manchester United. It's a massive job. Should he have listened to Van Gaal? Well, I don't know, because he did really well in season 1, and I genuinely think this season is very hard to call because I haven't mentioned it for a few days, but the Wolves game where he actually had most of his best team, we played fantastically well. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, look, I've got to get off because we are going to be live on That's Football in 7 minutes' time. It's a massive Champions League night. I'm really interested in it. We need Real Madrid to win because if Man City win a double treble, I really don't know where we go from here. I really don't. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you over there in a bit. Take care. What a show tonight. Don't forget Boohoo Man. Get your extra 10% off with the code Goldbridge. Fantastic clobber for you. I'll see you on That's Football in a couple of minutes.